Right, here at Kempton Park, I'm joined by John Hunt in what is an important week for the family, John, with Cheltenham having renamed their December Gold Cup in support of the John Hunt Family Fund, the Hunt Family Fund, and your gala dinner tomorrow night at Cheltenham as well, with a silent auction too. We'll come on to both those things in a few moments' time, but before we start, John, could you just explain to us what the Family Fund is and what the process and meaning behind it is?
Yeah, thanks for having me along tonight, Tom. So obviously last July 2024, Louise, Hannah and Carol were all murdered. And in the spring of this year, friends of mine, I get the sense, really good friends of mine, all got together with this great need to do something, you know. So a few of them floated the idea that we could do a big fundraiser and how to shape that going forward, at which time Amy and I had no energy. We just said, it sounds a great idea, but you're going to have to run with it yourselves. And my word, have they run with it, you know. So in conjunction with a broad friendship group and the Hertfordshire Community Fund and the the Gloucestershire Community Fund as well, who we are supporting as well, hopefully with a donation to follow on at the end of this week. Everybody pulled together, not just to establish tomorrow night, but also to launch this silent auction, and in the new year, primarily holding hands with the amazing people at the Hertfordshire Community Fund, will be hopefully be able in a position to spread out a fair bit of cash to people, women in particular, who need it at points of crisis. So, yeah, I think it's an old saying, isn't it? That out of something terrible, there's a possibility for something good to emerge. We'll never ever get our lives back. We'll never ever be able to replicate what we had before last July, but we just know that there are thousands of women out there in particular who are heading towards Christmas this year really, really struggling, worried. And sadly, Tom, it's a fact, the stats show it, that between us talking now and us carving turkey on Christmas Day, it's likely that 6 women will be killed at the hands of men. And the ramifications of that are just awful, aren't they? So, yeah, we're there standing shoulder to shoulder with women in need.
And it's amazing how vital that is to have this charitable initiative that's been set up by you and your friends to make sure that support is given. I mean, it's becoming more and more important every year.
Absolutely, and pressures on the charitable sector, full stop, are massive. And obviously this cost of living crisis is showing no signs of dissipating, is it? So every pound that people have is precious, and we understand that completely. But within that, Tom, the levels of generosity we've seen have been absolutely staggering, both in terms of people giving us and the fund time and exposure, but also backing that up with hard cash, wonderful items for the auction. People are just amazing, aren't they? They can be spectacularly good.
They can be, and I know that you wanted to talk specifically about some of those items in the auction because there are some wonderful prizes on show.
There really are, yeah. It's across the broad range of sport. There's England, Ireland, Six Nation VIP tickets, which I think is a sensational prize if you like your rugby. There's tickets for the darts final, which will be dominating many thoughts over the Christmas and New Year, of course. So, you know, Luke Littler are likely to do his stuff again. You can be there, you know, with a really great experience too. Loads of other things behind the scenes with Claire Baldy at Crufts. That'll appeal to so many people who love their dogs. There are Henley tickets. There's a fantastic prize Windsor have given for hospitality for 15 on New Year's Day. So if you're thinking, what are we going to do with the family and the in-laws on New Year's Day, there's a golden opportunity there to have a really good day out of the races. And we've only really scratched the surface there, mentioning a few things, Tom. There's so much on there. Yeah, lots to go at. There's even a chance to go and see West Ham train, which might get 10 or 15 quid, but I'll be certainly putting my hand up for that one, definitely. Yeah.
We want to see as many people getting involved, don't we? That's the bottom line.
Yes.
It's great to have as much support as possible.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask John, because I've always felt that in racing there's a huge bond between all of us, because we support and love this niche sport, really, at the end of the day, but it ties us together. And since the tragic events that happened, the communal support that I've seen on social media and indeed in newspapers and from you yourself and what you've talked about has been overwhelming. Do you feel that in some way the racing backbone, the community spirit, has helped a little bit with the emotions?
Massively, a huge amount, yeah. You know, people who I've hardly had anything to do with in my 35-year-old racing career have been in touch, and some have stayed in touch on a regular basis. And I think when we're all very different when we're faced with grief, and particularly traumatic grief, I think there's no textbook for how you should deal with that or how people should respond to those people at the centre of that particular crisis. But I can't tell you enough, Tom, how people gently touching in every now and then, just saying, hi, are you okay today? I'm about for a coffee next week, can you make it? Those sort of things are like priceless when it comes to reintegration back into some sort of new life. So yeah, the racing community have been amazing with that. You know, and going back to the fund, so years and years ago, Anne Duffield, I used to spend evenings like you are tonight, you know, the old Racing Channel days. Anne was a regular guest back then, and you know, shame on me, but since we stopped working together 20 years ago, I've barely seen her, you know, and she got wind of what was happening straight on the phone, offering a luxury week at one of her luxury lodges up in Yorkshire, together with going to see her and George Duffield. And she, you know, she did this all from her holiday base at the moment. She's away having some well-earned winter sun. And I just thought, wow, people are amazing, aren't they, really? They really, really are. So, yeah, very, very touching. And the support's been extended, obviously, through Cheltenham. Cheltenham have been unbelievable, both not just in terms of trying to get as big a success of tomorrow night as possible, but also obviously renaming the December Gold Cup on Saturday in support of our fund. But the little touches, their consideration for Amy in particular, you know, just really, really heartwarming. They've been amazing, Cheltenham.
And you mentioned Amy there. Given what's happened, have you found that between both of you, you've managed to effect some sort of catharsis, the fact that you can talk to each other and it's just you two, and you can not make each other feel better, but affect some kind of catharsis, relief from what's happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking about this to friends, especially this time of year, Tom. You know, if you're spending time with your children, or if you're spending time with your parents, and maybe things have you've not been as close as maybe that you would have liked, there's a great opportunity this Christmas to draw closer once again. Amy and I would speak regularly before last July. We'd chat regularly about work and how she is and how Gareth, her fiancé, is doing and stuff. But we have literally had to live in each other's pockets since last July, and that takes a lot of readjusting. But Amy's been amazing in every sense. She's been my best counsellor. We talk all the time, and speaking deeply and honestly about very troubling things has been a massive, massive help. So she's amazing. She's quite simply, Tom, the strongest person I know in this world. She's amazing.
And I thought about you last Christmas, both you and Amy, and I'm thinking about you again this Christmas, because obviously it's a time generally for family celebration. Do you find it a very difficult period at the moment?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. You sometimes feel, even coming here tonight, you know, Christmas music playing, lots of decorations, and quite rightly people are out for a really good time, and for a lot of people their Christmas has really started. And sadly for us, the joy of that time of year has dissipated completely. You know, you can see it in other people's eyes, but you don't feel it within inside, and that's a real sadness. But we're learning. And Hannah, Louise, and Carol loved the ritual of Christmas. They loved all sorts of year-round rituals, and we don't want to abandon that at all. You know, they love this time of year. The event tomorrow night is called Winter Wonderland, in honour of the Hyde Park extravaganza, which you clearly know all about, Tom. You've been on those high-rise
I've been a few times.
roller coasters as well, and drunk a few cocktails there too. They love that. So, yeah, we don't want to push away from that, but it's super difficult.
It's rather nice in a way. Then you can use this week in a way to celebrate Christmas rather than the actual period itself, by thinking back to Winter Wonderland and having the December Gold Cup renamed. I mean, that is a huge, I suppose, honour in a way, but it's a lovely thing to have that Cheltenham have renamed that big race.
Yeah, absolutely. And at our gala dinner, you know, they asked us, could we select some music to play in the background, and it's all the girls' favourite Christmas songs, you know, from silly films like Polar Express or Elf or something like that, you know, stuff that they would have really enjoyed, even though they were well into their 20s, you know, and Carol would have enjoyed all sorts of things, you know, from older films. So we've got all of that going on as well in the background. We've got all sorts of friends and family, people there from all walks of sport, all walks of life, and of course people supporting us from, again, within the industry, you know, especially at the BBC, who have been amazing for me from the word go. So, yeah, very special people, and we'll be surrounded by them for the rest of the week. I'm looking forward to it.
And I heard your chat with Nick Luck on his daily podcast, and I suppose interested really to hear about how you've aligned yourself with other people who've had similar circumstances happen to them.
Yeah.
Do you feel that getting that conversation across and that similarity of situation has helped you, helped the grieving process?
Yeah, I think so. And hopefully it's helped other people as well. It's you know, it sounds a bit brutal, but I was told by someone right at the start who had been through the loss of their family members too through murder that, you know, sadly we're all in a very small club now, and I just thought about that for a while, and I thought, well, there'll come a time where if we've no choice but to be in this space, we've surely got to try and help each other here, you know, and there's a uniqueness about the dialogue that you can have with people who know exactly how you feel. You can short circuit to the stuff that really matters. You can engage with troubles that not everybody would necessarily understand. I've mentioned already this week, just small things. When it's happened already tonight, a couple of race girls come up to me and said, "Thinking of you, John," and stuff like that. And I've seen other people who I know me, who would rather cross the other side of the parade ring, you know, to avoid. And that's really painful, Tom. That's really painful. I used to listen to homeless people, you know, and they used to say the worst thing is not the cold, it's not the hunger, it's being ignored. And yeah, it's bloody devastating when that happens. So you learn quickly. But yeah, you mentioned about support. I've found energy to do it. People in my situation, and sadly there are lots of them. There's just a you have a commonality. You have a similar sense of hopelessness, yet trying to scramble through the dirt on the ground as well to try and make the next day a little bit better. So I just feel comfortable doing that with other people, and I think for the most part other people in exactly my sort of position find some comfort from sharing with me as well. So there's definitely a bond there, and it's ultimately painful, but it's a positive thing, really.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word commonality. I think a lot of us who have seen what's happened and heard what's happened can't really get our heads around it because it's such a foreign thing for a lot of people to really understand and comprehend. So I suppose that's where the commonality comes in, because you can't really discuss it with people properly who don't really quite understand and get it. Would that be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and these people won't mind me mentioning. So I'm chatting to Esther Jai regularly. Esther's daughter Brianna was murdered age 16. Esther's found amazing courage and strength to do what she's doing now to make positive change for the future in societal change. Martin Kosser's another man I speak about a lot. Martin's son Charlie was murdered at a party. Completely random attack, out of the blue attack. You know, it really can. I know we're at a time of year, Tom, where we want to be as optimistic and joyful as possible, but it really is a case that it can happen to anybody. And you know, it's awful for Amy and I that it happened to our family in such a grotesque way. But yeah, I always make that point. I'm not really too sure. Because I don't want to scare people. I don't want to make people bristle. I don't want people to be anxious. But the reality is that there's, to go along with all the goodness we've talked about, there's an element of badness in society as well, and that can strike at any time. And, you know, sadly, as we found support when that does strike, is something you have to go and find yourself. It doesn't get given to you on a plate. So we want to come back to the whole idea of fundraising. We want to, for people in that position, we want to hand it on a plate to them. Things like free counselling and things like that. An amazing charity in Hertford called Future Living.
But
do exactly that.
It makes me kind of sad to think that it wasn't on a plate for you and Amy.
Oh, it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. Yeah, you think. We said if our mental harm had been replaced by physical harm, we'd still be in intensive care now. But it feels like, you know, there are lots of caring people we came across, but in terms of, for us, in terms of support and moving forward, we had to do that all ourselves. But we realised that straight away. As soon as victim support, who are a well-intended charitable arm of the criminal justice system, but as soon as we realised all they could do for us was give us 50 quid's worth of Sainsbury's vouchers when the girls were killed, we realised, wow, this is, you know, we've not had our bike stolen, and that was it. That was it from that. And it's like you think, wow, God, how is that it? And it is it often. So so then we just dusted ourselves down and said we've got to go and find it ourselves. And happily, Tom, you know, we found high quality care and counselling and therapy, and that's ongoing. And my God, where we'd be without it. So that's a big thing for me, trying to extend that sort of thing to girls and women in particular who have been through real trauma, and say, look, if nothing else, there's going to be some free help for you here. You don't have to worry about. Imagine going through the worst possible trauma, Tom, and saying you can only access recovery if you can afford it, and that's the reality.
It's hard to comprehend.
Yeah, but it's the truth.
And I think you deserve great credit for making that easy for people in the future, because, you know, as you say, unfortunately, things like this are going to happen again to other people, and if they can have it a little bit easier, as you say, it's definitely a good thing. We've got to leave it there, unfortunately, John.
Okay, Tom, lovely
Thank
to
you
speak.
so much. I really appreciate you
Can
talking.
I just leave a note of the website to get
Absolutely,
involved in this amazing.
And we'll put it on the screen as well.
Yeah, of course. So it's bidaid.com/auction and then /HFF for Hunt Family Fund, and you'll get through to all those items. And of course, if you don't want to go for one of the items, there's a little button to just make a small donation if you feel able to as well. Amy and I and the whole extended family are so appreciative.
Yeah, please do get in touch. It's such a great cause, and to give that some support would be fantastic. John, I wish you the best of luck this week. I hope it goes as well as it can.
Thanks, Tom.
And you can gain some kind of semblance of enjoyment for Christmas as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tom. Happy Christmas to you too.
And to you.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.